Tesla has just slipped below the $400 level, and many investors are asking the same question right now. Is this the beginning of a larger breakdown or simply a pause before Tesla's next major move? Today, we're going to analyze the Tesla chart together and understand what is actually happening beneath the surface of the market. Hi, this is Ken. Today is Tuesday, so it's time for our weekly Tesla stock chart analysis. Right now, Tesla is trading around $391, and the level that many investors are watching very closely is $400. Now, $400 is not just a random number, it's a psychological level, but more importantly, it's also a technical battlefield where different types of investors are reacting. Short-term traders, swing traders, and long-term investors are all paying attention to this level. And recently, Tesla briefly moved below $400. So the big question is this: is Tesla's long-term uptrend breaking down, or are we simply seeing a normal correction inside a larger bullish structure? In today's video, I want to organize what has been happening in the market, look at multiple time frames on the chart, and explain what I believe investors should really be watching next. First, let's step back and look at the recent price action. If you've been following this channel, you know we analyze Tesla's chart every week. And in last week's video, one of the key points we talked about was the battle around $400. At that time, we were already seeing some short-term weakness, selling pressure was increasing, and Tesla had started to form lower highs. That pattern often signals that a stock is entering a correction phase. However, the long-term structure still looked intact. So the scenario we discussed was a high probability of consolidation rather than a trend collapse. Now let's look at what actually happened. Tesla eventually slipped below $400, and the price is now hovering in the high $390 range. But the important detail here is how the decline occurred.
When a stock truly collapses, the pattern is usually very obvious. You often see extremely sharp drops, volume explodes, and panic selling begins. But if you look at Tesla's recent movement, that's not what we're seeing. Instead of a violent sell-off, the stock has been drifting downward gradually. This type of price action often suggests something different. It suggests that the market is cooling down, not necessarily breaking. In other words, the current move does not look like a panic-driven exit by long-term investors, at least not yet. Now let's zoom out and look at the weekly chart, because context matters a lot. Since 2023, Tesla has been in a very powerful long-term uptrend. The stock climbed from roughly the $200 range all the way up to around $480. That's a huge move in a relatively short period of time. And when markets move like that, corrections are completely normal. In fact, they are necessary. Without corrections, trends often become unstable. So if we look at the weekly chart objectively, what we're seeing right now still looks more like a high-level consolidation rather than a complete trend reversal. Another important clue comes from volume. Volume is extremely useful because it often reveals what larger players are doing. If institutional investors were aggressively exiting Tesla right now, we would likely see huge spikes in volume on the weekly chart, but that's not what the data shows. The volume levels remain relatively stable. There is selling pressure, but we are not seeing the type of volume surge that usually accompanies a large-scale institutional exit. This suggests that the current movement may simply be a rebalancing phase rather than a mass liquidation. Now let's move down to the daily chart, where the structure of this correction becomes much clearer. If you look at Tesla's recent price behavior, you'll notice something interesting. The stock has been forming a sequence of lower highs. For example, we saw highs around $480, then about $460, then around $440, and later near $420. Each rally attempt has peaked slightly lower than the previous one. This is a classic pattern that often appears during trend cooling phases. It doesn't automatically mean the long-term trend is over, but it does show that momentum has slowed down. Now let's look at the moving averages. Currently, Tesla's price is trading below the 20-day moving average and also below the 50-day moving average. This confirms that short-term momentum is currently weak. However, the level that really matters right now is the 200-day moving average. Tesla is approaching this level around $393, and the 200-day average is something many institutional investors watch very closely. For many long-term portfolio managers, this line represents an important structural support zone. So what Tesla is doing right now could essentially be described as testing long-term support, and the market's reaction here could tell us a lot about the next major move. Now, let's zoom into the 4-hour chart to better understand short-term money flow. Here, the pattern becomes even more obvious. Tesla has been trading inside a descending channel. Both the highs and lows have gradually moved downward. The RSI on this time frame is currently sitting around 40. That's not extremely oversold. It's slightly bearish, but still within a neutral range. In other words, the market hasn't built up a strong rebound signal yet. And if we look at the volume delta, we can see that sellers have had a slight advantage recently. But once again, the key detail is that this is not panic selling, it's controlled selling, which often occurs during consolidation phases. So, if we summarize the current situation, on the long-term time frame, Tesla's major uptrend is still intact. On the mid-term time frame, the stock is clearly in a correction phase, and on the short-term time frame, selling pressure is slightly dominant. What this means is that the market is currently at a decision point, and the battlefield for that decision is the $400 area. This level is both psychologically and technically important, which is why investors across the market are paying attention to it. So, what should we watch next? There are 3 key signals I'm focusing on. The first is the 200-day moving average around $393. If Tesla finds support here, it could provide a foundation for the next move higher. The second signal is whether Tesla can reclaim the $400 level convincingly. If the price moves back above $400 with strength, the short-term momentum could shift. And the third signal is volume expansion. Whenever a market makes a decisive move, volume usually increases. So watching both price and volume together will be extremely important. So how should long-term Tesla investors think about this moment? Right now, the chart does not clearly show a trend breakdown, but it also does not show a strong bullish continuation yet. Instead, Tesla appears to be in a transition phase where the market is deciding the next direction. And historically, moments like this often become important turning points. The key for investors is not to react emotionally to short-term volatility. It's to understand where we are within the broader story, because Tesla has always been a company driven by long-term technological shifts, artificial intelligence, autonomous driving, energy systems, and robotics. The stock chart simply reflects how the market processes that future over time. That's all for today's Tesla chart analysis. If you found this breakdown helpful, please consider liking the video. And if you want to stay updated on Tesla's strategy, technology, and market trends, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I post new Tesla analysis regularly, and my goal is to help you understand the bigger picture behind the headlines. Thank you for watching, and let's continue enjoying life in the future with Tesla. Before we wrap up, let me take a moment to introduce myself. I drive a Tesla Model Y, and at home I've installed a Tesla Powerwall, so so I actually charge my car with solar energy. I truly believe Tesla is shaping the future, and that's why I share the latest news and insights here on this channel. I'm from Japan, but I want to connect with Tesla fans all around the world. That's why I also create an English version of my videos. YouTube now lets you switch the audio into your own language, so you can enjoy it in whatever language you prefer. Most of all, I'd love to connect with Tesla fans everywhere so we can support Tesla together. I also share updates on X, so feel free to follow me there and let's connect. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.